been a little while since I've done a Miracles and Signs episode, and today that is what I have for you. As I know you saw from the graphic, this one is titled The Gynecologist, 2009. Or technically, it happened sometime between 2009 and 2011. So I'm not exactly sure of the year of this one, but that is to the best of my knowledge. I remember I was working at a gift shop warehouse company, and I had just got new health insurance through them. But before I get to that, let me get to the other part. So before I got the health insurance, I was having a discussion with my mom one day, just a random conversation, and she had mentioned something about, have you not ever gone to the gynecologist, for a yearly checkup? Yes, this is an episode for the ladies, if anybody is wondering. But if you're a man, you can watch it too. It's not going to have anything really gross or anything that might make you squeamish, nothing like that. I wouldn't put that on my YouTube channel. So my mom and I were having this conversation just randomly that day, and she had just mentioned about, have you never gone to the gynecologist, and that pap smear, your yearly checkup that is recommended for all women of certain ages. And I said, no, I had never been, and it was true, I had never been to see a gynecologist prior to this date between the 2009, 10, or 11. So she kind of talked me into it, but the thing is, well, she didn't really talk me into it. She, not intentionally anyway. The conversation eventually did stick in my head and eventually made me, come to the decision to schedule an appointment to go see a gynecologist. But the thing is, during this time, I was very afraid. I've said in many videos before, I had hypochondria, so I didn't want to go to a hospital for anything. I had already gone through my going to the hospital all the time, always thinking something was wrong with me, and I had finally grown out of that, but into something even more unhealthy. I still had the hypochondria, but I wasn't going to the doctor anymore when I thought something was wrong. Instead, I was avoiding it. And I still admittedly kind of do that today. I do not like going to doctors. Most people don't. But for some people, it's more of an anxiety and a mental health issue, something that causes a lot of stress. And I was definitely one of those people back when this was happening. So the last thing I wanted to do, since I wasn't in the moment having any anxiety about having something wrong with me, I was kind of cherishing those moments because I had already lived so many years with the hypochondria, thinking something was wrong with me, my head hurt, or I sneezed, or I had blurry vision in the morning, just all kinds of things. The smallest little thing would make me think, oh no, something terrible is wrong, and then I would run to the doctor and find out there was nothing wrong with me except anxiety. So I was happy in this particular time that I was not having to deal with that kind of stuff. And I also distinctly remember being a little irritated with my mom, poor mom, but for even bringing something like that up. I didn't want to have any kind of health related stuff just kind of seeded into my brain, because that's where it starts. And so of course it came down to it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I started really getting scared. Oh, what if something is wrong? What if they, what if they find something? And at first I did not want to go. I didn't have any symptoms of anything. Felt perfectly healthy. There was nothing wrong with me. And she was just suggesting it as a checkup. So there was nothing wrong with that. But in the background of my mind, I was panicking. But I did eventually, after about a couple of weeks, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I did call a doctor close that for an OB/GYN and schedule an appointment just for the checkup and everything. And so I had to wait about a week. I'm not sure of the timeline here either, so I'm just saying certain things because I'm just to fill in the story because I'm not exactly sure. But I knew it wasn't long after I scheduled the appointment. It seemed like it was about a week, and the whole time I was right back into that paranoid hypochondria mind frame, and I just thought to myself, here it goes again. I got a brief break from it, and now I just I'm forcing it on myself, having to deal with this. So the whole week I just waited and waited, and just couldn't think of anything other than this appointment. And I was worried about what they were going to tell me, and I was just really scared. So the day of the appointment finally came. I went in, I did what I needed to do. They took samples and everything, and told me your results will be back in about 3 days. Longest 3 days of my life at that time. So I just waited, and I every time the phone would ring, I would jump inside my skin and just be really nervous about that phone call. So I finally got the phone call, and a huge relief when they said the results were negative. Everything was fine. I am due to, just go and live my life and be happy and not worry about this again for another year, because they said, you need to do it every year. So I thought, oh, thank God, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I can breathe again. And everything kind of fell into place, and I started feeling like maybe I can go back to normal, and I don't have to worry about this again for a year. I don't even have to think about it. And in that moment, a year seems like a long time. But then when that time rolls around again, of course, whether for whatever it is you're going to a doctor for, it seems like it was just yesterday. Like, where did the year go? But anyway. So I was happy that I didn't have to deal with it anymore. But then something really weird happened. I was, like I said at the beginning of the video, I was working at this gift shop in a warehouse. And I had just recently, a couple weeks after this appointment, I got new health insurance through my job. And I didn't have to pay for this health insurance. My employer paid 100% of this health insurance, and it was really good insurance. I could actually go to the OB/GYN that my mom had recommended, but I couldn't go to before because I didn't have the insurance. I didn't even have insurance at all. Actually, the first one that I went to, I just paid cash. I just wrote a check. That was back when I had a checking account. And I just wrote a check to pay for it. So now that I had this new insurance, I could go to almost any doctor that I wanted. But of course I didn't want to go to any doctors, and I didn't have any reason to go to any doctors anymore because I had already just did the gynecology thing and didn't have to worry about it for another year. But something told me to schedule another appointment. Not that I had any, like I said, I didn't have any symptoms of anything. I didn't have anything that would make me feel like all of a sudden I want to schedule another appointment and put myself through this again just a couple of weeks after the first time. This is nuts. And, coming from me, who I felt like I had won the lottery that day by having negative results and not having to deal with this again for another year. And then all of a sudden, I start thinking of scheduling another appointment with no context, with no reason whatsoever to do this. And it was just very strange. But I did it anyway. But this time it was also different because I didn't really have the same fear. The fear had gone. I'd already got the negative test. I didn't have anything to worry about. But there was still that why am I scheduling another appointment anyway? If I don't have anything to worry about and I just had one done, why am I going to do this again? But regardless of all these weird whys and the question, I did it anyway. I scheduled an appointment with this particular OBGYN that my mom was very fond of and who she had, been going to for several years. And so I had another week to 2 weeks before I could get in to see this doctor. And I remember I wasn't really worried about it this time. I didn't spend that week or 2 weeks, stressed out about, oh no, what are the results going to be? I didn't do that this time. So I finally went in to the appointment and they did the same thing that the other doctor did that I had seen a couple of weeks before. And I didn't worry. They said the same thing. Your results will be back in about 3 days and, we'll give you a call. And I just didn't think about it. So then that day came, I got a call and my results were positive. I remember answering the phone and not really, okay, hello, normal. I didn't have the knot in my stomach or, my breath wasn't caught in my throat. My heart wasn't beating. I just answered the phone like any other day. And they told me, yeah, we did find that you have moderate dysplasia. And of course I'm like, what is that? And they said that it's basically pre-cancer of the cervix. So I'm like, okay. So I remember kind of drawing a blank at this moment because I think it was just like the shock was kind of setting in because I had just had a test done not long ago and they said that everything was fine. The results were negative. And then just a couple of weeks later, I get the opposite result. And so I'm trying to process this the whole time. Like, okay, are you sure? I didn't ask that question, but I was thinking, are they sure? This can't be because they just had a test done. So when I was done finally processing that, that's when the fear hit. I was still on the phone with the nurse and she was trying to explain to me that the doctor suggested I have a hysterectomy because it was already moderate. First he suggested that I have a cone biopsy of the cervix. So, then all this trauma started coming in my head. I started panicking after the phone call. I was just so afraid of everything, of the phone call, of the test results, of the cone biopsy that I was now scheduled to have done, and I was a basket case. When it comes to health stuff, that's the worst thing for me. It's just the worst. So I went into this, I wouldn't say surgery, but they did cut on me because it was a biopsy, and I did have to go under anesthesia for it. And so they did the test with the cone biopsy and found that it had spread. The dysplasia had spread significantly beyond my cervix. So then the doctor recommended that I have a hysterectomy because he said it'd be a 100%. He actually said the words 100% cure. You just have a hysterectomy. He started talking with me about I've already had 3 kids and I also had I think he called it uterine prolapse. I had that problem too after my 3rd child because I had all 3 children vaginally, and so he recommended that since I already have kids and everything, that hysterectomy is the best option for me. So that's when of course I agreed to it and had the hysterectomy, and everything has been fine ever since then. And so I just find it like a miracle almost, or a blessing, a really huge blessing from God, because I know that wasn't me that just decided one day. The person that's afraid to go to doctors, the person that wants nothing to do with anything that has anything to do with the hospital. I don't want tests done on me. I don't want this, I don't want that. And to just have had a negative test and have that weight lifted off my shoulders, there was no reason for someone like me who is so scared of this kind of stuff to just decide one day, okay, I'm going to schedule another appointment for the same thing I just did. You know, it just doesn't make sense, not for somebody like me. And it was God. It was absolutely God intervening. I needed to go. He, probably told my mom to tell me to go, because I probably never would have went otherwise if we hadn't had that conversation that day. And then because I didn't have health insurance at the time, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get health insurance and I don't even have to pay for it. My employer paid 100% of my health insurance, and it just came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it. It wasn't something that we had talked about previously about, we're gonna give you health insurance in a couple months. I had no idea about getting health insurance. And then just out of the blue, just deciding to go and do the same thing that I just did. So that can only be God. Things like that just don't happen. There's too much for it to be coincidence. And so that's why that's another on my list for my miracles, signs, and I'm gonna have to probably rename this Miracles, Signs, and Blessings series. So that is my miracle, sign, or blessing, whatever you want to call it, for today. And I still have more to add to this series at a later date. So stay tuned for those. See you next time. God bless.